So two things to start this video. One, as you can hear, the entire family is sick right now. I thought I'd escaped it, and it doesn't look like I have because that shit is settling in quick. And two, I look extremely naked right now, and who would I be without the signature backwards cap? What is poppin', and welcome back to yet another tattoo submissions / critiques, a series where I take your work and give you just a little bit of a critique and a little bit feedback on the tattoos that you are doing. To get involved in this series, all you need to do is hashtag your work with hashtag Ravage rating on Instagram. You will know if you are part of this video because your image will have received a like. I do not like any image until that image has been critiqued. So that gives you an idea of when to look out for said video. Before we start, I just want to thank you all for taking part in hashtag Ravage rating. It can be very daunting. It can be very scary to get a critique. However, I do believe that critiques are necessary. Please do not take anything that is said in this video too hard, too much. Just take it as advice, because that is all it is. Now, our first batter up is Nate Loomis _tattoos with this incredible 2-pack portrait. Seriously, dude, off the bat, off the rip, this is a really good job, man. Like a really good job. But I am here to critique. So let's get into it. I love the saturation that you've got on this image. I think the saturation is on point. There is very little skin break, and the skin break that you do have has a light tone going over the top. Fully 100% saturating from what I can see. You know, on this channel, we love saturation. Black and grey saturation. Oh, chef's kiss. I love this image that you have used. This is prime example of what a good image to use would be. Lovely contrast in the face. You've got that darker right side, that lighter left hand side, but still bringing in some darkness on that left hand side also. As you can see, the tone on the left side of that cheek is not far off from the tone on the darker side of that face. I love the hat. The hat for me on this is one of the standout things. I love that you have used black and you have not been scared of using black. And as you can see, this is what happens with a portrait when you are not afraid to use black. Now, it is a critique, so we do have to, unfortunately, bring out some pointers. So firstly, I would say the initial standout for me is, although I do like the hat, is the button things that go across here that hold the hat together. I feel like it's a little bit too soft. What you have to remember is that that is plastic. So plastic is hard. It has a sharp edge. So for me, it is just a little bit too soft. What I probably would have done is gone in with maybe a 3-liner and a lighter tone, not black, but a lighter tone, maybe matching the tones that you've used, and just, run a line across the top and the bottom just to sharpen it up. But that line's not going to be too dark where it's overpowering. So yes, firstly, I would have sharpened that up. I feel like the eyebrows could use just a slightly little bit more work. Just, define them a little bit. Now, again, I haven't looked at the reference. I am only judging the tattoo. So for all I know, that is how the eyebrows were. But just looking at it, I feel like you could have just defined them just a little bit more. Add some nice eyebrow texture in there. Not too much, you don't want it to be too overpowering, but just a little bit more. It looks to me like you've mainly used mag, and it's making the eyebrows look a little bit like matted together, a little bit clunky. I have no idea if that makes sense, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Going down, that is same with the hoodie that Tupac is wearing. The hood, again, it's just a little bit too soft. Now, I would not use a line in that hood. It's not a sharp, edge. That's not what you need to do in situations like this. What you need to do is just concentrate on your mag work just a little bit more. It's too, like I said, it's too soft. It's just a little bit too, what's the word? I don't know the word. But what I would do is just turn that mag on the side and just really work those tones just a little bit more, so you are getting a sharp edge on the tone, which in turn will, just sharpen up that image and not make it look as soft, but without taking the realism aspect away of a line. Same with the base of the neck and the t-shirt. Again, it is just a little bit too soft. It's almost like that he's wearing like a towel shirt or like a fluffy t-shirt of some kind, because you haven't got a defined, edge. Again, don't use a liner, just use that mag on the side and really define that edge. And this tattoo would have been so much better. But Nate Loomis, well done, buddy. Overall, it's a cracking portrait. It is done on real skin. I think it's done on fake skin. I would love to see you do this on skin. I think you would smash this out of the park on real skin. Well done, Nate. Next up, and I'm so sorry if I butcher the name, but we will go with Bagito at Mahina. Is it that? Bagito _at _Mahina. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. But anyway, it is this Joker portrait holding the card with the skull coming out. Firstly, what I like about this tattoo is you haven't gone with the Joker that everybody would go with, that being Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson. Maybe even, if you're slightly stupid, Jared Leto. I absolutely love that you've not gone with the standard Joker, so that is a plus for me. Saturation is on point, contrast is on point. I love the black background contrasting against the lighter tones in the face, which really brings across that face is white. I love the defined nose, the defined lips, defined teeth, defined eyes. Everything is as should be. Now, there's obviously a few things that I would point out on this portrait that would make it just a little bit better, and that would be, firstly, the hair. I feel like the hair looks more like it is from a toy or some sort of model. There's no texture in there. There's no definition of hair in there. You have the flow of the hair, but it kind of looks clumpy and clumped together. I would love to see some wispiness in that and it not be so static. When it's hair, go for realism as much as you can. Add that texture, add that wispiness, get that direction in there. You can see on the top of the hair, you've got 2 points, and that's just not realistic, and it kind of takes away from the realism of the whole tattoo. Hair is not sharp. If anything, it would fall down and it wouldn't point up, and it certainly wouldn't come up to a spike. So yeah, just really concentrate on that hair. It would have took this portrait to the next level, definitely. But overall, I think you have done a really good job. So have your Bagito. I'm so sorry again if I butchered your name. Next up would be Noel Tattoos with this really well done snake and dagger. Firstly, I love the different line weights that you've got in here. I love that the dagger has really fat, bold outlines. I love that the snake has bold outlines, but not as bold as what the dagger is. Really separating that snake from that dagger. So I really love that choice. Line weight is a big thing when it comes to tattooing. It makes your tattoos just cleaner. It differentiates the objects that you've got in there. Decent line work also. I can't see any blowouts. I can't see any like discrepancies in your lines, maybe just maybe one or two, but nothing major at all. I love the contrast that you've got in the snake, but what I think you could have done better was add that contrast into the dagger. Now you've got the contrast in the snake, which again separates the snake from the dagger that little bit more. But when you remove that snake and you look at that dagger, your dagger looks pretty much one tone throughout. Your blade is the exact same tone as what your handle is, which is the exact same tone as what your hilt is. I think it's called a hilt. If I'm wrong, bang it in comments, let me know what it's called. That dagger is pretty much the same throughout. I would have loved to have seen just a little bit more separation in tone. Make that dagger a lot lighter than what your handle is and the hilt. Let me have a look, see if it's called a hilt. Right. Well, I'm getting pictures of the very same thing I'm looking at, so I imagine it is called a hilt. What also could have separated this a little bit more is adding a nice little drop shadow to that snake just underneath, so it gives the more realistic look that that snake is actually sat on that dagger and curling round. You wouldn't need to use a big drop shadow or anything like that, but just a nice subtle drop shadow just to give that little bit more realism to the piece. I love the twistiness of the snake. All that looks pretty correct. I love the darkness, the use of black that you've got in the snake. The biggest problem for me, like I said, is just the dagger. It's a little bit too much of the same. Even though you have separated those line weights, go in with that tone, darken up that handle, darken up like the center bit maybe. It doesn't need to be as dark as your snake, but just add just a little bit more contrast to it, and I think you will take this tattoo a level up. On to the next one, but please just bear with me a second. I am looking through Instagram right now, and I'm trying to give people mentions that haven't been mentioned before, so everybody gets like a fair shake, because that's what we're about on this channel, fairness. So let's go with... All right, we'll go with this one. This tattoo is by Island Corey from Spring Hill, Florida, and it is of the Game of Thrones Stark sigil. So firstly, I am a stipple guy. I do love a good stipple every now and then. So I love that you have chosen to do stipple in this tattoo. Your line work is, for the most part, pretty clean. There doesn't look to be any blowouts. Maybe a slight blowout on the teeth, but it's not exactly a good photo for me to like zoom in and double check, but there seems to be some like discoloration behind that back tooth. Feel like it just lacks a little bit of saturation. When you are stippling, if you are going for realism, you can still go for the realism in the piece and stipple. There is some details, like some textures that you will miss out on because obviously you are stippling, and stipple itself is a texture, so adding texture to that, it will get lost. But there is just a little bit more that you could have done. You could have added more stipple to this. You could have added more black into this also, just to give it a little bit more depth. To add some variation, I feel like you could have used different line weights also. I can see you've probably used like a 3 in the teeth, and then maybe a 7 around the outside in the fur and around the ear and around the mouth and stuff like that. But I would have probably used a bigger, bolder outline just on the outside, but that, to be honest, is personal preference, just because I feel like different line weights make a tattoo look better. So a bolder outline going around that outside, a smaller outline in those teeth, and then something in between for everything else in the middle. But Island Corey, good job. Next up to bat is this tattoo right here, and it is by Pete Pelton. First up, well done on tattooing a hand. Tattooing hands are pretty difficult to do, so well done doing a clean tattoo on a hand. And I do have to say also that your tones are really nice and smooth, your blends are nice and smooth, and overall it is a really, really good job. Now, what I would say about this is, one, Background. You've done very little background. Hands are notorious for falling out. Always do a background on a hand, because if it does fall out, the background is gonna hold it together somewhat and make it easier when it comes to a touch up if needed. If you lose all that right hand side, you know, that is going to be a lot harder for you to put back in than if a background was there shaping it for you. So always do a background when it comes to hands. I feel like the wood on the top could be just a little bit better. Add more texture in there, get a little bit more detail. Same with the crack that goes through the bell. It's a little bit too fat for me. Like it's like you've used, again, like a 7 or something, and I feel like, you know, that crack needs to be a little bit more subtle than what it is. You can have it break off on the bottom of the bell, and then the crack can go, you know, from fat to thin as it like goes up the bell, as that crack gets weaker, and then maybe even add some more cracks, just, you know, just coming off. But overall, I feel like the tattoo lacks black. You have black in the wood area, on the underneath the wood, and you have a little bit of black underneath the bell, but I don't really see much more black, and black is the thing that is going to hold your tattoo up over time, and I feel like it's just lacking just slightly on the black. I would have, you know, used black on the right of that bell. You can see where the darkness is on the right hand side of that bell, and underneath where the little lip is, you know, used black or even a darker tone on there also. That would have aided in giving more roundness to your bell and more dimension to your bell also. So yes, but Pete Pelton, well done, my man. There is your like. Oh, anyway, we have been going for currently 35 bloody minutes. So we are going to call it there. If you want to take part in videos like this, again, do not forget to hashtag your images with hashtag Ravage rating. But guys, that is all for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you've all learned something. If you want any added extra benefits from myself, you can join my Patreon. The link is in the description. You'll get access to a Discord server where you can ask all the questions you want and get all the critiques you want. If you really want to get help, then you can even get Zoom calls depending on the tier that you pick. So that is that. I will see you all in the next video, guys. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to like this video. Do not forget to comment on this video. Peace.